All right, we are going to start off the evening with our color guard. We also have Ashton Blake, if he would like to join us up here, and Jen Brown, and we will go through that part of our ceremony. They're going to be bringing out food, and we'll sing the national anthem together. I'll do the intro. We've got the program here. There's a couple of audibles just because we had people with the federal delegation not being here, so please bear with us with that. Jen Brown is going to give us our prayer this evening, and she runs the Utah Citizens for the Constitution. And for those of you who know Jen, she's an incredible human and always so gracious and so kind, and never says a mean word about anyone ever. And so I thought, who better to say the prayer than Jen Brown? So thanks, Jen.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful to be able to gather here as citizens and as friends. And we're so grateful for this country and that we can celebrate the 250th anniversary this year of the Declaration of Independence. We're so grateful for those that have gone before us and have done so much to defend our freedoms. We pray that we can be who thou needs us to be at this time, to be thy hands as we seek freedom to uphold the Constitution and to help that the world will have hope because of America. And we pray at this time for our military and the situation in the Middle East. We pray that thou wilt watch over that and thou wilt help all the people that are involved with that, and that thou wilt protect people, and that good will come from that, and that freedom will be able to come from that. And we pray for all our speakers tonight that they will be able to say what they have prepared, and that we will be able to hear their messages and go forward and be ready to work hard and do what thou would have us to do. And we love thee, and we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the balls bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you very much to our color guard. So grateful for them. They are always willing to come and help us set up, and I can't thank them enough for their patriotism. So they will be bringing out salads. We are going to carry on as the servers come out. So grateful for all of you. I don't know if Mike is here, if Mike can come to the PowerPoint. We're good. All right, as you begin your dinner, I wanted to give you guys a welcome. I'm so grateful. I had somebody who mentioned this morning, before this started, just how they walked around and saw the people that were here and the organizations that were here. And they made the comment that a lot of us have the same cause. We're just doing it in our own little groups. And I thought that is so absolutely true. There's a handful of people here tonight that I'm just so grateful for, and organizations that you have fought the fight with, you've been in the trenches, you know their values and their virtues, and you're just so grateful to them and everything that they do. If you see someone here tonight that you know falls in that category, please tell them thank you. So grateful to our sponsors too, and we will go through those a little bit later. If you notice on your program, on the back of the program, you have sponsors that have joined us, our platinum sponsors, our gold, and our silver. And then we have a couple of special thank yous. We had Ready Gunner reach out to us and say that they were willing to give a gun range pass to everybody who attended tonight. And so we thought that was pretty cool. So as you get started, I have a couple of remarks that I wanted to make. I wanted to tell you about our theme that we have for the evening. Our theme originally with the anniversary coming was We the People. And I thought that's totally appropriate, totally fitting. And then I ran across a thing about where they switched one letter. And the letter that they switched was the first letter. And the letter was a W to a B, and it was Be the People. And it just hit me, like I stopped in my tracks, and I thought, oh my goodness. We've always thought of we the people, like of course, yes, power comes from us, this is how our government's organized. And that one change made me go, oh my goodness, are we being the people? And so that's what my remarks are around tonight. So for a lot of you and a lot of people, I met you during COVID, and a lot of us were up at the Capitol together. And I was during that time period that I was in my garden, and a lot of social media news was coming in, and it was when Australia started to get locked down. And I had this moment, this man in Australia, it still gets me now, he was pleading in the video, and he said, America, where are you? Help us. Like, you're the beacon on the hill for the world. And I went, oh my gosh, we are. He goes, you guys have the things that we've all aspired to have, and where are you? And Australia, this man in Australia was pleading to America to come and help them. And that's what it's meant to me, to be the people. So we have received this profound inheritance that we have. And our founding fathers exposed us to timeless principles. It toppled feudalism when the United States started, and it helped create the modern middle class. I think it's something we really take for granted. That inheritance, it gave us liberty and opportunity and a society like anything else that the world had seen. So it's no secret, I've been accused of being an activist chair. Totally guilty. And I will continue to be an activist for our system and our principles. Because our system allows access for when we, the people, want to participate and be the people. That's what this system does. And people say, why build this? Why try and build something, Christy? Because if we don't, there's a vacuum, and money comes in and power comes in, and we don't have the door open for us even to have the opportunity to be the people. It matters. It absolutely matters. So all changes have come from small groups of people who aimed for something higher than themselves, who saw something coming or wanted to move from where they had been. I think some of us see something coming right now. For those who see something coming, it's time to be the people. This means actively living those principles instead of merely inheriting them. Being able to call a duck, even though in modern times old ideas are being rebranded to look and sound good. We may be at a crossroads that very few civilizations have seen before. We have taken for granted the gift of our country and assumed that it could never happen here. Not to us. We know too much. We have too much. We love freedom. We have the 4th of July. We have elections. We are the people. But I think it is happening. It's coming through the back door. And unfortunately, some of our own Republicans are letting it in as much as anyone else. The system seems ripe for violating principles for deals. We've become so business-focused for selfish reasons that we have forgotten what fair and free markets do for everyone. Maybe a modern-day feudalism is being rebranded and walking through the back door. Corporations and governments seem to be merging to where the inherent virtues and protections in both are lost. Along with that, maybe a perverted social order of self-censorship and ranking speech has joined a counterfeit version of collectivism to replace genuine dialogue and intellectual discourse. We tend to think, not here, because we've lived in peace and prosperity while only hearing of turmoil at a distance. So many of you have already risen to the occasion, and you understand that with this extraordinary inheritance comes a solemn responsibility, not just to our children, but to the world. As they say, I'm probably preaching to the choir. Most of you already know this. But in this room, I'm glad my glasses are off right now. I stand among giants. Selfless, tireless, humble, intelligent, virtuous giants. Some who I've invited personally tonight, and I stand among people who have seen the writing on the wall, and they have said, not on my watch, not for my children, not in my Utah. Their stories of sacrifice, and I know many of their stories of sacrifice of time, energy, money, day in and day out, tireless sacrifice for this cause. They have been a beautiful, painful tale for freedom. To those people who know what the sacrifice has been, a million thank yous to you. And a lot of you, I called and I said, I need you in this room tonight. Thank you. You know who you are. We have to be the people before we find ourselves saying, remember when we were the people. So I hope that you look at this and you can say, if you feel it and it's your time to be the people, our goal and our hope in the party is that there's a door open here for you, that you can help us. If you see what's coming, and a lot of us see what's coming, Utah, I think, is both the epicenter of two worlds right now. And I think we get to pick which world that we want to usher in. Thank you. So as you eat, we will have a musical number, Stars and Stripes Forever, and I so thank America the Beautiful. Oh, I'm sorry, America the Beautiful. Thank you, Denise. Please give a round of applause to our incredible musicians here tonight. They are as talented as they come, and they will play for you, and then we will dismiss them so that they can go and enjoy their dinner too. Okay, we are going to move on with our awards. And I think just about everybody has gotten their food. So if you have not, that should be coming. And thank you guys. I hope it's been enjoyable so far. I hope you are appreciating the people at your table. Some incredible people here tonight. Last year, we started a bit of a tradition with our gold elephants we gave to our legislators. So grateful to them. This year, I kept thinking, man, who's really put a lot of effort and who's been working really hard? And the answer was so clear over and over that it's my house chairs. My house chairs have been worked a lot lately. Absolutely. For those who do not, if you're here with your spouse and they're the politico and you're the political widow or widower, as many of you are, we're a weird breed. We know we are. My husband's new favorite thing to do at dinner is to find the other husbands, gather them up, and then just start. I see them pointing and laughing. I think they're making fun of us, but we'll take it. We know it's a strange gene. And so for the spouses of my house chairs, just so you know, we have just come off of caucus, which took our house chairs months and months of preparation. We went from caucus to where we left at about 4 a.m., 4:30-ish, and they got home. Rachel Smith texted me and she said, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to be there until 2 a.m. And I was like, 2 a.m.? We're fine. Come on, girl. We're waiting. So we stayed at Shepherd Grip and Lighting, who's always been absolutely wonderful to host us and let us use their facility. And so, absolutely, thank you. We went from caucus, which was a ton of work, right into an incredible delegate training on Saturday. Last Saturday, if you were there, was amazing. We had standing room only in the auditorium. We went right out to meet the candidates. We had over 1,300 people at Skyridge High School. Absolutely. I'm known for just telling too much, so I'll just tell you too much right now. I took some pictures and I was like, Ben Winslow, look at this. Jacob Nielsen, Brigham Tomko, for those of you who know, those are reporters, political reporters. Because all I keep hearing is that the Democrats have all the energy and the Republicans are dying and nobody cares. And I was like, 1,300 people at Skyridge. Somebody cares. So after that, our house chairs, a bunch of them have worked on Lincoln Day as well. So for their spouses, I apologize that we have taken them so much of their time, so many of their nights. They did caucus trainings. They had their delegates sit together. They're at all the Central Committee. Half of my executive committee is new this year. Some of them are still like asking for definitions of what stuff is. I'll be like, come on, we do this thing. And they're like, what is this thing? And they have been absolutely incredible and wonderful. So I would like, if my steering committee is here, if they could come up. I haven't told them this, but if they could come up to the stage, that's one of the things. Then they're like, Christy, who's on the steering committee? And so, wonderful. Mark's coming. Mike Carpenter's our tech officer. Mark Clough, our treasurer. Charles Wood, the vice chair. Wendy Hart, volunteers officer. Carrie Gwynn, our education officer. And man, Carrie needs a vacation after caucus. Stephanie White, our finance officer. And Kirby Glad, I know he's here, I talked to him. Can I tell you, well, I'm going to let Kirby's secret out of the bag. Kirby's actually pretty funny sometimes. And today I called him and I was like, Kirby, what if we auction you in the silent auction? And he laughed. He's like, yeah, throw my wife in too. Like, he's actually pretty funny, but everybody doesn't know that. He'll make his way up. So we have these gold elephants. I'm going to call our house chairs up. And if you guys don't mind, here's the card. We'll start at 50. We go to 66, but there's no 59, for those of you who know. And so our first house chair, House District 50, is Rachel Smith. If Rachel will come up. Matt Gerard, I don't know if he could make it tonight. He is House District 51. House District 51. It's like roll call at Central Committee. Max Sims, House District 52. Also, on a side note, Max Sims and Chris Knoll, please stand up. For those of you who checked in seamlessly at caucus, it was these two. If you know, you know. Aaron Bullen, House District 53. Ed Kennedy, House District 54. Christina Ballard, House District 55. Crystal Muhlstein, House District 56. Dan Forward, House District 57. Nathan Gwynn, House District 58. David Wright, House District 60. Dave Lewis, House District 61. He's coming. Ben Summerholder, House District 62. She's on leave, but she's been very helpful with caucus. Carolina Heron, House District 63. Cam Valgardson, House District 64. Carly Euler, House District 65. And Charles Pipkin, House District 66. And Charles had a prior engagement. Carly's not here either. Okay. One more round of applause for our House District chairs. For those of you who have held that position, and many of you in the audience have done that, you know how thankless it is, the hours, and also their team is incredible. They have vice chairs, they have education officers, they have 2 committee members, and they work with them the whole time. And so as I thought about who to honor tonight, it was a very obvious choice who should get their rewards in our county. So thank you very much to them. Okay, I wanted to honor our sponsors tonight, our platinum sponsors, Dr. Mike Kennedy, Walt Plum, John Notwell, and Grant Pace. If you could give them a round of applause. Our gold sponsors are Rod Mann, Celeste Malloy, Aaron Davidson, Mike Lee, Brady Brammer, Jackie Larson, Kevin Badsgard. So thank you very much. And our silver sponsors can be found on the back of the program. Okay, we have the opportunity to hear from some of our sponsors. We'll first hear from Rod Mann and then Brady Brammer. Mike Lee and Celeste Malloy got stuck in DC, as I said, but they've sent in videos, and so we'll play those videos. Then we'll hear from Aaron Davidson, then Grant Pace, and then Walter J. Plum III. And so, Rod Mann, if you would like to. Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. In 1796, George Washington's farewell address was published in newspapers around the country. An underlying theme was the protection of the Constitution. I'd like to share one of my favorite quotes from it. Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. In vain would that man claim the tribute of patriotism who should labor to subvert these great pillars of human happiness, these firmest props of the duties of men and citizens. I am proud to be a member of a party whose platform supports religious freedom and takes a strong stand on moral issues. I want to give an applaud to those that put our platform together. This year we are celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation's birth. Like Washington, we need to be the people that protect the U.S. Constitution, which is the guarantor of the rights and liberties enumerated in the Declaration of Independence. As Daniel Webster noted in a speech honoring George Washington in 1832, other misfortunes may be born or their effects overcome. If disastrous war should sweep our commerce from the ocean, another generation may renew it. If it exhaust our treasury, future industry may replenish it. But who shall reconstruct the fabric of a demolished government? Who shall rear again the well-proportioned columns of constitutional liberty? Gentlemen, and I add ladies, if these columns fail, they will not be raised again. Like the Colosseum and the Parthenon, they will be destined to a mournful and melancholy immortality. I am so pleased to be here among you who honor and support the well-proportioned columns of constitutional liberty. I challenge all of us to be unfailing in this mission. I would also like to earn your vote for Utah County Commission C, to work with you to ensure that our county remains a bastion of liberty and freedom. Thank you.
Okay, next we will hear from Brady Brammer.
All right. First of all, can we give Christy and her team one more round of applause? Now, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I want to talk about a couple of things. And I'm going to highlight 3 delegates. And among the delegates, you could really just throw a dart at the board of delegates and you'd find some really amazing examples of people who are, of the example that we're trying to show of what it means to be the people. Our delegates are amazing. And I also want to highlight two of our party's founding fathers. We think a lot about our constitutional founding fathers, but when we talk about Lincoln Day, you know, Abraham Lincoln is certainly one of the Republican Party's founding fathers. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so I'll start with talking a little bit about Abraham Lincoln and what it meant to be the people, an example of his life along those lines. There was a moment in Lincoln's presidency during the Civil War when he walked in unannounced into a military hospital. And he did not command armies. He did not deliver speeches. He knelt beside the broken. He spoke quietly to those that were suffering, and he reminded them that their sacrifice was not in vain. And when he left, those men, though they were still wounded, were strengthened. Now that's leadership. And it wasn't the thunder of words. It wasn't the force of power, but it was the weight of character and the strength of principle. He gave the example of what it meant to be the people. And now that hour for us is here because we live in a time when others work tirelessly not to build, but to deconstruct. We live in a time where others work tirelessly not to clarify truth, but to confuse it. Where they work tirelessly not to elevate virtue, but to erode it. It's time for us to meet that noise with clarity, to meet their division with conviction, and their confusion with truth. So I want to highlight one of my delegates. I don't know that she's here today, but Kristen Ritchie she and her husband were called as mission presidents to Peru. They were there during COVID, and they came back, and rather than, they left from California, went to become mission presidents, came back and moved to Utah after they were done. And rather than retire peacefully, she has been working with Eagle Forum to advocate for exactly the principles of virtue, of fair elections, of good, solid morals and family support day after day for free, just to make our communities better. That's what our delegates do. Now, we have to remember that if there is to be virtue in this nation, that we are the ones that must live it. If there is to be strength in this nation, we are the ones that must show it. If there's to be hope for the next generation, we must build it. And this quote from Frederick Douglass, who was another one of the founding fathers of our Republican Party, someone that we should study and really understand his works. It's been rolling around in my head for the last few weeks, and he said, "It is far easier to build a strong child than to fix a broken man." So, one of the things that we do when we are the people is we build the strong children. We push for the strong moral character and conviction so that our children will be strong. Now, I want to highlight one of the delegates right here, Steve Sparty. Now, he didn't know I was going to do this, so he's probably embarrassed that I'm bringing it up. But when Steve Sparty heard that there were inappropriate books in our school libraries, first he couldn't believe it, and he went to the library and he investigated, and he found out that there were, and he told other people, and he was criticized roundly for it. But he stood up for principle. And then, you know what ended up happening? He got elected to the school board. So, others would have us believe that the destiny of this country rests in the distant halls of government. But we need to be clear, it has always depended upon the character of its people. Indeed, while the people can delegate their power to the government, they cannot delegate their virtue to the government. The virtue always remains with the people, and that's what it means to be the people. It is that rising up in virtue, that improvement of virtue in your personal lives. It's how we, as a Republican Party, influence those around us to actually make a difference. We live better, we connect our communities, we're a major part of our communities. We're the coaches of the Little League teams. And we teach truth, and we stand for what is right. As de Tocqueville noted, America is great because it is good. And the moment that it ceases to be good, it will cease to be great. Virtue is the key to what it means to be the people. We must be clear when others confuse. We must serve where others shrink. We must strengthen where others weaken. So let us be the people. God bless Utah. God bless our republic. Thank you.
So one of the myths that I keep hearing is that young people are on the left. They're not on the right. They don't care to be Republicans. But if you are 30 and younger, will you please stand?
Hello, Utah County Republicans.
Thank you for coming. Our youth are incredible.
Hello, Utah County Republicans.
Mike Lee wants to talk to us. I will hurry. Our youth are incredible. They have so much energy. If you don't follow them on social media, please do. They have brought a new energy. My own children, I swear they're more trad than I am. Traditional, for those. You guys knew what I meant. They knew what I meant. They are more traditional than I am. There is a wonderful resurgence among the youth for values and grounding and integrity and family and all those things that we know keep a society headed in the right direction. And so I was so grateful. I've been working with them, and I've been lucky enough to end up at their table at a handful of events. And so when you hear someone say that myth, please tell them it's not true. You were recently at an event where a whole bunch of youth stood up because they are our future, and we are passing our inheritance on to them. And so thank you very much. And Mike Lee has something that he'd like to tell us.
Hello, Utah County Republicans. Lincoln Day dinners are one of our party's great traditions, and events like this one remind us of where the strength of our party actually comes from. Not from Washington, but from counties like ours. I want to thank you for everything you do to keep the Republican Party strong in Utah County. Utah County has always been central to Utah's story, just as it's always been part of mine. Long before permanent settlement, people lived along the shores of Utah Lake for thousands of years, relying on its water, its fish, and the land around it. In 1776, the Dominguez Escalante expedition passed through this valley. The Timpanogos Utes in the valley welcomed the Padres and helped them. By the 1820s, trappers had arrived, including Etienne Provost, whose name still marks one of this county's great cities, where I'm privileged to live. Then in 1847, pioneers began to explore this valley. And by 1849, they established Fort Utah in what is now Provo. They came to build. They farmed the land. They planted orchards. They built communities from the ground up. This valley became a center of agriculture, industry, and eventually education. In 1873, the Provo woolen mills became one of the first major manufacturing operations in the entire state. Mining in American Fork Canyon and the Tintic District brought new opportunity and growth. And during World War II, Geneva Steel rose up along the shores of Utah Lake, powering the American war effort and employing generations of Utah families. At the same time, this county became a center of learning. Brigham Young University was established here, and today, alongside Utah Valley University, it continues to shape the next generation. Over time, farmland gave way to neighborhoods, businesses, and one of the fastest growing regions in the entire country. The pioneer spirit that built Utah County is still alive and well here today. Patriots like you gave us a unified Republican government, a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and President Trump is back in the White House. So what does that mean for you? Well, among other things, it means working families saw the largest tax cut in American history. For many families, more than $10,000 in additional take-home pay every year, year after year after year. It means no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. We permanently expanded the child tax credit for more than 40 million American families, including a whole lot of families right here in Utah. We protected family farms from double taxation. We secured the border. We finished the wall and added thousands of Border Patrol agents. We began reversing years of bad energy policy by opening up American oil, gas, and coal production. That is what happens when Republicans are allowed to govern. But governing, of course, means finishing what you start. Now, right now, the country's closer than ever to real voter ID laws. And it explains the reaction we're seeing from Democrats in the Senate. Under President Trump, we're just getting started. And with your continued support, we'll finish the job. Thank you. May God bless you. May God bless President Trump. And may God bless the state of Utah and the United States of America. Hello, Utah County Republic.
Thank you very much. I want to, if I can get to it, just share some statistics with you guys. We have Pro-Life Utah with us tonight. Deanna and Mary, if you guys would stand up. I just wanted to tell you, talk about being the people. Their numbers from last year is 154 babies saved. 4,546 free services given, 127 baby showers and supply deliveries, and $422,495 given in life grants. Thank you, too, for all of the work that you do. And for the others who are in the audience that work with Pro-Life Utah, thank you very, very much. And we have a message from Celeste Malloy.
Hello, Utah County. I'm Congresswoman Celeste Malloy, and I'm running to be your representative, at least some of you. With the new maps finalized and the districts changing, I've decided to run in the new 3rd District, which gives me the honor of earning your vote. I'm sorry I couldn't make your event tonight. We got held up in DC as we're working to pass legislation. Our Republican majority is so slim right now that we can't afford to miss any votes. If we're not there, the Democrats will be able to derail our legislation and have the majority. We're working on some great things in Congress, and we've passed legislation that provides cost savings to Utah families. The legislation we've already passed this year increased take-home pay by an average of $10,000 per family by eliminating taxes on tips and overtime, cutting taxes for seniors on Social Security. We raised the child tax credit by $200 per child and increased write-offs for small businesses. I'm excited to continue working hard for Utah and now for Utah County. In Congress, I've passed legislation to improve the lives of Utahns and make government smaller and more accessible. I've been able to hit the ground running and achieve results for the communities I currently represent, and I couldn't be more honored to be their voice in Congress. I proudly serve on the House Appropriations Committee, where I remain vigilant in eliminating wasteful spending. I also serve on the Natural Resources Committee, where I protect Utah's interests in our land, water, and energy. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight, but I hope you have a great dinner, and I look forward to earning your trust and your vote this year.
So I wanted to spotlight another organization. Jen Brown said the prayer for us, but if she'd stand up. Jen Brown runs the Utah Citizens for the Constitution. And she does an incredible job. If you've seen her Zoom calls, I've watched them grow and grow, and I'll be texting her on the back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jen, so many people. And it just shows how many people, and she saw a need, and she jumped in. And this is a crazy thing about Jen Brown. I don't know why this blew my mind. When I knew her, and then somebody goes, oh, she's at work. And I was like, oh, what does she do? And they go, she's a dentist. And I was like, Jen Brown's a dentist? Did you guys know Jen Brown's a dentist? Anyway, I thought it was so awesome. So she'll call me sometimes in between patients. And so for all of the tireless work that Utah Citizens for the Constitution does, thank you so much, Jen Brown. Okay, next we will have the honor of hearing from Aaron Davidson.
You know, I'd also like to commend, Christy Henshaw, because I really enjoy the legislative session because I get to see her just about every time I go up there. She's there almost every day, and I appreciate that about her. And then also talking about the young Republicans. So I actually invited 3 members from BYU's young Republicans to attend, to sit at my table. So I appreciate them coming also. You know, in 1910, Theodore Roosevelt delivered a speech, and a section of that speech became known as the man in the arena. It's not the critic who counts, but the man who points out how, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms and great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails daring greatly. If you look around, we are the people who are in the arena. Each one of us sitting here knows what it is like to be in the arena. And 4 years ago, I ran as the county clerk, and I never promised that I was going to be perfect, but I did promise that I would do my very best with all my power to ensure that elections are safe, secure, and transparent. And just more importantly, thank you. And more importantly, that I would follow the tenets of the Republican Party platform. And because of that commitment and the relationships that I've built with those in the state legislature, many who are here, I worked with them in trying to draft legislation to make things more safe and secure. And because of that, cast vote records are now posted online after the election. Ranked choice voting ended in Utah County a full year before the pilot project ended. In Utah County, the post-election audits, I implemented a policy that involved more citizens in the process than members of my own staff. And I have submitted 31 petition packets to the county attorney's office for potential signature fraud violations. And the most recent accomplishment is Utah County became the first election entity in Utah to be registered to use the Systematic Alien Verification and Entitlements Program, which verifies citizenship status of all Utah County voters. So I just want to thank you for trusting me to be in the arena and to fight for transparency over the last 4 years, and I look forward to another 4 years and working with the legislatures to get it done. So thank you very much, and I appreciate all your work.
Okay, Rachel has let me know that they are extending the auction for 30 minutes, till 9 o'clock. I did want to tell you guys, this was funny. I actually left my phone up here when one of the speakers was speaking, and my phone doesn't stop. Like, it never, ever stops. And it didn't do anything because I realized you're all in this room. Like, You're all right here. I thought that was so funny. I was like, oh no, my phone's up there. It's going to buzz. It's going to buzz. And then I went, no, they're here. They're all here. So we have Grant Pace is our convention nominee for House District 60. And he was also the sole person to file in a special election. So we have an overlapping situation with House District 60. And he's also one of our sponsors tonight. So we will be pleased to hear from Grant Pace right now.
Thank you for that welcome, and thank you for the chance to speak for a few moments at such a remarkable gathering. Last month, my father, Loren Pace, a long-term legislator and former Speaker of the House of Representatives here in Utah, passed away at age 100. A friend asked me if it was a surprise. No, not at 100. His was a life full of service to his country, his family, his church, and to the state of Utah. At his burial, we watched 2 U.S. Air Force cadets fold the flag that draped his coffin, finishing with that final crease pressed to the breast. That was an emotional moment I'll never forget. Since his passing, I have been in contact with the flag detail aboard the USS Constitution, Old Ironsides in Boston Harbor. Last week, the commanding officer informed me that in honor of my father's military and public service, his flag will be flown from the mast of the USS Constitution on July 4th, 2026, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. I think my father would like that. The USS Constitution was one of the first 6 ships commissioned by Congress to form the United States Navy. And during the War of 2012, when her sailors shouted as they looked overboard, "Huzzah, her sides are made of iron," they were reacting to British cannonballs bouncing off the hull. That moment gave her the name of Old Ironsides. Over time, the endurance of that ship has made her name, the USS Constitution, even more meaningful, because our Constitution, the document, has without question preserved us a nation. It is the foundation of our liberty and our identity as Americans. But let me offer a caution that's already been referred to here tonight. Today we fear far fewer cannonballs from without. Instead, we face the timeless warning every sailor knows: it is not the sea without, but the water within that endangers the ship. We must beware. The welcoming spirit of the Republican Party has brought aboard individuals whose commitment to the Constitution is shallow and whose allegiance to the planks of our party platform is selective. And by the way, a huge shout out to the platform committee for this year's Utah County platform. In my judgment, this is excellent work. Thank you. It's timely, principled, clear, and obviously grounded on constitutional principles. It has been said that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. So, vigilant we will be. We will be the people who, on our watch, safeguard our party, our principles, and the Constitution that anchors them. My candidacy is dedicated to this legacy, to preserving the integrity of our party and the strength of the Republic. My father lived a century in service to faith, family, and country. His flag will fly from Old Ironsides on our nation's 250th birthday. A reminder that every generation must do its part. Now it's our turn. So let me close with this. A huzzah for Old Ironsides, a huzzah for the U.S. Constitution, and a huzzah for the Republican Party, steadfast in its call for limited government, ordered liberty, and the strength of a free people. May we be the people, and may God bless and prosper us in this election cycle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to give a shout out really quick. Everybody knows Eagle Forum. They have been around as long as I can remember. But Gail Ruzicka, if you don't mind standing up, this woman embodies Be the People. Thank you, guys. That is so well-deserved. Gail's a dear friend of mine. We met when I stumbled into her caucus meeting and had no idea who she was, and I ran against her for, yeah. I had no idea, but I took it to a head-to-head, and after when I found out, I went, oh my goodness. So Gail, to me, is the queen. I introduce her everywhere I go. I had the absolute privilege of driving her around. She unfortunately slipped and broke her arm when she was in Washington, D.C., and her tragedy became my benefit. I got to drive her on multiple occasions to different events, and I picked her brain, and I have said to her since then, will you please come, and I have a podcast stuff set up in my office, and she has said that she will. I learned so much from her, fun stuff where I told her something that happened at the Capitol, and she goes, oh, Christy, you fell for that? That's one of the oldest tricks in the book. But she is a dear friend and well-deserved of any standing ovation in any room. Gail, your tireless efforts for freedom, I don't know if anybody else has put in the time and the energy that you have, and you continue to do it. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, I'm really excited about this, is coming on behalf of his father, because he got stuck in D.C., but John Kennedy came to Alpine City Hall when the Prop 4 initiative was going on, and me and my husband walked out and we said the best speaker tonight was John Kennedy, and so no pressure. He's so fantastic. I spoke at BYU about a month ago, and I spoke with the Democrat chair, and we talked about caucus. And after, here pops this friendly face in, and I'm like, John, Christy, and I was just so glad to see him. And he has gotten this group around him, like I pointed out, of these young Republicans that understand what's at stake and are willing to put in the work and know what the values are that we hold, and they hold them as well. So please welcome John Kennedy.
Good evening, everyone. Very excited to be here with you. As Christy said, I'm not Mike Kennedy, so sorry to disappoint. I'm his son, John. As Christy said, he's stuck in Washington, D.C., trying to get the Department of Homeland Security funded, and so he's unable to be here tonight. But when I asked my dad what he would want me to say for him, he said he's very sorry to be absent. He's lived in Utah County for over 30 years now, and he loves being with you people, but that he is staying in his post to do the work that he was elected to do by you good people. Right now, he's doing everything he can to work with his colleagues to fund Border Patrol and immigration enforcement officers, because he believes that our border should be secure and that criminals should be subject to the full force of the law. I was thinking about what I wanted to say about my dad, and at first I was tempted to list off some of the bills that he sponsored in the 14 months that he's been in office. But instead of doing that, I'm going to talk about how his work has impacted me personally, how it's impacted our great county, how it's impacted the people in his district, and how it's impacted the great country of the United States of America. First, my dad worked with President Trump and with Republicans to keep the American dream affordable for my generation. Together, they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, which permanently codified higher standard deductions for every class of tax filer, eliminated taxes on up to $25,000 of tips and overtime, and promotes economic growth by encouraging businesses to spend and invest. I get a little excited about that because I'm an accounting major. Additionally, I'm very proud of the way that my dad hasn't shied away from making tough votes. He's been willing to stand up in the face of wasteful spending. He has opposed bureaucracy, and he's willing to sacrifice political expediency in order to stand by his principles and the principles of the people that he represents. One of the greatest lessons that I learned from my parents, and my dad especially growing up, was that who you are as a person should be consistent. Your behavior should not change based on the people you are with. You should be the same person at work as you are at home or at church or anywhere else you go. By being willing to make tough votes and take the heat for it, I've seen my dad continuing to live by that principle. Lastly, I'm proud of the way that my dad conducts himself with his colleagues and with his constituents. I've been campaigning alongside my dad for about 14 years now, and during that time, I've never heard him negatively campaign against a single opponent. Even with people that he disagrees, he's always willing to have a conversation. Additionally, my dad is a strong supporter of the caucus convention system. He has never collected signatures to get on a ballot. I have been in the car with him, traveling across our great state to campaign events, and in each spare moment that he has, he spends his time personally calling every single delegate in his district, working to earn their support. He does everything that he can to reach out to his constituents and represent them well. Frankly, the only complaint that I have with my dad is that between medical school, law school, and now serving in Congress, he hasn't left me with a lot of career options that he hasn't already done. But with that being said, I hope that he can continue to earn your vote and your support. God bless the great state of Utah, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Just really quickly, if I could have the UC3, Utah Coalition of Cities and Counties, and Americans for Prosperity stand up. Thank you very much for proving that not all NGOs are bad. The next speaker is one of my favorite people in the whole world. He is fantastic. If you know him, he is an absolute advocate for conservative values. He has a knack for finding good people to run for office. And I have had the great honor of getting to know him in the last couple of years. Please welcome Walter J. Plum III.
I'm going to be super brief tonight. Utah has the largest per capita youth population in the nation, and I, along with you, believe that every kid should graduate from high school free from the handicap of an addiction. And that's Drug Safe Utah. This year has been the best year for the Utah legislature. We have the greatest legislators in anywhere in the country right here in our state. And they came through with 6 bills, Gail, 7 bills, all for youth protection this year. One example, a drug you probably never even heard about, Kratom, which is sold in gas stations everywhere and convenience stores, will no longer be sold there. And the businesses that produce those, 2 of them with over $100 million in sales, are going to be out of business. And a lot of thanks to Brady Brammer down here and a lot of other legislators, both Democrat and Republican, that participated in this. And just a couple other things, and I want to give thanks to Rob Axon and his wife, Aaron for helping so much in this effort. Rob's the chairman, as you know, of the Utah Republican Party. Can we have a hand of appreciation for them? Piper Hill Consulting, along with the Utah Medical Association, that's all the docs, Utah Cancer Society, Utah Heart Association, and above all, the Eagle Forum, again, Gail Rizika. And I have an advertisement for them. If you haven't signed up for the Eagle Forum, it's eagleforumutah.org. And they can sign up, right, Gail? Tonight we've got a great audience for that. And a couple small advertisements. Today I have with me at my table my son-in-law who took on the hardest project in Utah County, the cleanup of the Geneva site. No more smoke, all houses. Sell your house and move to Utah City. Secondly, I want to thank David Kyle, who's here with us. I lined David Kyle up with his wife about 6 months ago, 4.5 months ago. They were married. I knew both his wife and his sister in Iraq when I was serving an LDS mission there, and that left one sister unmarried. And she has to marry a Republican, hopefully wealthy. Gala, can you stand up just a second? Just a second. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Walter J. Plum III. Fantastic. One more group that I'd like to stand up, Moms for America, if you are here, please stand up. Thank you very much for the work that you do. Thank you for protecting our children and for giving moms a place. Appreciate you guys very much. Okay, if Luke Truitt could come up. I think he is here. Oh, wonderful. Luke, fantastic. Luke is going to read our introduction for our guest speakers that we have here. And then I just wanted to show you, if you guys have not seen Kimberly L's book, The Invincible Family, it's an incredible book. She's done great work. Please get it. It's called Why the Global Campaign to Crush Motherhood and Fatherhood Can't Win. And almost lost my pen there. And this is a wonderful book. She put a lot of time and energy in this, and she'll tell you a little bit about what that's about. So Luke, if you wouldn't mind doing the introduction.
Kimberly Ells is the author of The Invisible Family, Why the Global Campaign to Crush Motherhood and Fatherhood Can't Win. Kimberly has written for The Federalist, The Daily Wire, The Daily Signal, Town Hall, The Epoch Times, The Salt Lake Tribune, and other outlets. Kimberly has been featured on numerous programs, including Tucker Carlson Today, Common Sense with Dr. Ben Carson, The Era MedAxtro, and Moms for America. She has spoken at the United Nations and at venues across the country. Kimberly graduated from Brigham Young with a degree in English. She is married and is the mother of 5 children. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be with you tonight. I had a son in my old age, and it's one of the best things I ever did. He's 9 years old now, and he's the joy of our life. Another thing that's been important in my life is I started working with an NGO at the United Nations over 10 years ago. That's been another key effort in my life. I speak tonight from a perspective of valuing the unique contributions of men and women, especially in the family. I also speak from a belief that motherhood undergirds and regulates the political structure of the world, but that's not the point that I'm here to make tonight. I've been given the job of making one point and making it in 6 minutes. And so don't worry, Jason and Tina, I'm going to leave you your time. The best way that I can make this point, I believe, is with 3 quick stories. And then I'll just quickly wrap it up. The first time I went to the United Nations was 2014. I found myself in a room in an event called They were launching a big initiative called Step It Up for Gender Equality. And this event was hosted by UN Women and some other countries of the world and other groups. So I found myself in a room full of producers, advertisers, media people, the head of a women's magazine, and other people involved in film, radio, and other media. And the goal that was unfolded during the event was that they wanted to form a media compact, a global compact cementing agreement on how women will be presented on screen and in the media. Specifically, they wanted more women in media jobs, more women represented in certain roles. And that might all be fine and good, but what started to concern me was that they started to talk about what kinds of roles women should be presented in. They specifically talked about how women should not be shown in commercials or other media in caretaking roles. That bothered me, because I think caretaking is one of the most important works in the world. Not only did they want that, but they wanted men to be shown in care roles. I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem with women being left out. They wanted more women in commander-in-chief type of roles and positions. Now, all this may be debatable. This may be a bad or good thing, but that's not even my point. So, and another benefit of being part of this global compact was they would write content for you. If you signed up, they will write content for you to put out on your platforms. And so then I watched, and I've watched for the past 12 years. If you think about it, when's the last time you saw a woman presented in a commercial feeding her children? It might have been a while. I'm not saying there aren't any, but there's very few. When's the last time you saw a female general? Both are noble pursuits. Why is one being deplatformed and the other promoted? This is my question. No laws were passed about this per se, but a compact was made at the global level, money was put behind it, and social pressure was applied, which was a top-down approach that sent ripples through society. And we have been watching that unfold in real time. Most people weren't at that launch meeting, though. I was. And so it's been fascinating for me to see how it's rolled out. Story number 2. A major focus of the United Nations for many decades, at least for the Economic and Social Council, has been comprehensive sexuality education. You may be familiar with this fight globally and locally. This is a type of graphic sex education that often focuses on the sexual rights of children. So in 2016, a survey pops up in Utah that was reported on our local media about a survey asking parents if they want comprehensive sexuality education for their children or just plain old abstinence-based. And no context was given for this, just as this survey was taken. Well, it turns out 64% of us want a comprehensive sexuality education for our children, and only 25% want the kind that our state currently demands by law, which is abstinence-based. Then, as some of you may recall, Representative Brian King sponsored a bill pushing CSE in Utah. He's one of many. There have been many efforts to do this over the years. It was eventually, that time it was defeated because we knew what it was and where it was coming from. It was a top-down deconstruction of basic sexual morality, which is linked closely to religion and culture, right? So I want you to see the timeline. The concept of comprehensive sexuality education was forming in the 1970s. It was globally formalized at the UN in 1994. It became standard language and operating procedure in the 2000s, especially after the UNESCO put out a really horrific document in 2009, which had to be recalled and changed because so many people were alarmed by it. And the two major pushers of comprehensive sexuality education around the world are, surprise, UNESCO and UNFPA, two major UN agencies. And then we see comprehensive sexuality education come to Utah. That's not an accident, it's on purpose. And this happens again and again. My last story. In 2023, the Biden administration launched the U.S. strategy on global women's economic security. You may or may not have heard about this. Here's 3 quick highlights. This quotes from it. The strategy lays out an ambitious agenda to advance women's economic security globally by reducing wage gaps, improving care infrastructure, and dismantling legal, social, and cultural barriers to women's economic participation. Some of that may be good. It says this strategy aligns with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Some of us may have concerns about that. Next, Quote, the U.S. government has partnered with the World Bank and is leading diplomatic engagements to encourage partnerships in the recently launched Global Invest in Childcare initiative, which will expand access to quality childcare globally. The World Bank Group is working with countries to develop a pipeline of investments in quality childcare that will transform the opportunities available to children, women, and families. Okay, so this is a global thing in which our administration at the time openly said, we're partnering with the World Bank, a UN entity, on pushing childcare throughout the world. And this is, of course, always presented in terms of empowering women. So imagine my interest when I saw a program roll out in Utah under Governor Cox pushing these very same things that same year, called Inspire in Utah. This campaign was complete with billboards and a website bursting with heartwarming stories. Now, everything that was contained in this initiative was not necessarily bad, but can you see where it came from? It's really quite clear. Did Governor Cox think that up by himself? I don't know for sure. But the fact is, there exists a network of experts, institutions, and funders who share assumptions, frameworks, and core beliefs. These ideas originate in and circulate through World Bank research, OECD reports, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals and their accompanying documents and literature. These ideas are then integrated into state-level policy, like Utah. It goes like this. The UN is an agenda setter. The World Bank is concerned with financing and execution. Governments climb on board with nice branding, provided for them often, that makes Utah look good. All right, so wrapping these things together, does it make sense? Or is it even reasonable to think that global entities with big plans and big budgets haven't thought about how they're going to get the water to the end of the row? That they don't have plans to implement on the local level? It may be naive to think so. Does this mean, though, that everything that comes to the surface in Utah that vaguely resembles UN language or policy is being spoon-fed to us by UN globalists? No. Does it mean that George Soros is lurking behind every corner in Utah? No, it doesn't. But it does mean that global entities who do want to influence local policy and programs might have plans to do so. And they might be careful not to advertise which corners they're actually lurking behind, because no one likes to think of themselves as a puppet for some global regime. And then, of course, the most recent example of the global to local pipeline is what came to light just really this week about the ties between the so-called Mormon Women for Ethical Government and a whole litany of global forces and funders exposed by Data Republican and then pushed by Mike Lee. What I want you to see and consider, thank you. What I want you to see and consider is alignment, global to local. When we see alignment in ideology, language, or purpose, we should consider sources. And when we dig, we often find connections. But even if we don't find direct funding links or obvious partnerships, we should consider that there could be connections, even if they're well concealed, unforced, or unseen. If local policy is aligned with global goals, then there's probably a reason why. Either many good minds came up with the same ideas, or one is influencing the other. It's not an alarmist position to point out where alignment exists and to resist global intrusion into Utah. And that is my point. All this is addressed in chapter 19 of my book. Thank you, Christy, for sharing that. If you want to see how all of this targets the family as the core of civilization, read the rest of the book. It's called The Invincible Family. And if you'd like to know what I saw at the UN this year, just a couple of weeks ago, you can follow me at Invincible Family Substack. I'd love to have you on board. I write for you once a week. It's free. I'll close with the words of a 20th century Russian communist. He said, "Children, like soft wax, are very malleable. We must rescue children from the harmful influence of the family. From the earliest days of their little lives, they must find themselves under the beneficent influence of communist schools. To oblige the mother to give her child to the Soviet state, that is our task." The closer we get to falling in step with what global movements want, the closer we are to unhinging the family and facilitating domination by the state. We can and must resist this. God bless America and God bless Utah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. She came to a friend of mine's house, and I heard much more than that, and I was so grateful to have her confirm things that I was already seeing. And so, as you can see, she's a powerhouse, as so many moms that I have met. We have wonderful men that work in this field as well, and there is just something about moms protecting the future of their children. So thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate that, and the family. I want to tell a little quick story that connects this. I had a high-up librarian, had a conversation with her, and I said, I'm a teacher, and I said, how is it that so many of these books came into the schools all at once? And she goes, oh, I'll tell you. I had an author show me the letter that they got from the publishing company. These authors were given a letter from the publishing companies that if they didn't, so imagine you're an author, you write a book, you send it into the publisher, and then they got their book rejected, and these are authors that had published before many times, and on the letter it said, we will not accept your book unless you include these 5 things, and it went on to list a sexual assault situation, same-sex relationship. And so if you're wondering, like I was, how so many of those books happened at once, the authors didn't all just go crazy. They spent a lot of time working on books, and then they were rejected, and so a lot of them added that stuff, and that was what helped set off the culture war that happened. And so when Kimberly explained some of this stuff to me, I went, oh, I saw a piece of that happen. And so you can see how top-down this stuff comes, and so that was a nice connection to make to kind of solve that mystery in my mind. For the next speaker, we have Hayden Perry is going to introduce Tina Cannon, and I'm going to do this for Tina before she even gets up here. So, Hayden Perry, one of our youth, and then just hand this to Tina when you're...
Tina Cannon was sworn in as Utah's 26th state auditor in January of 2025, bringing 3 decades of experience in accounting, business, and public service. Auditor Cannon rapidly established her office as a vigorous defender of taxpayer dollars, focusing on transparency and accountability in statewide government oversight. In her first 15 months of office, leading audits across Utah governmental agencies, Auditor Cannon has identified more than $500 million of fraud, waste, and abuse. From a nonprofit president's misuse of funds to the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, where money went to the excessive administrative fees rather than for patient care. Other audits have revealed millions in unreimbursed prescription rebates unclaimed by DHHS and waste over $50 million of Utah's Office of Recovery Services. Auditor Cannon is a strong advocate for conservative principles of accountability, limited government, and strong fiscal oversight, and works every day to ensure those values are upheld for the people of Utah.
Thank you, Christy, for moving that, because we all know that if I stand here, you won't know I'm here. So I always stand out here, so you know I'm here. I appreciate that introduction. It's getting a little weird to be introduced. I'm used to just being Tina and an accountant. But it has been the honor of a lifetime to work with an amazing team. When we talk about 500 million in identified fraud across the state, I don't do that alone. I have an amazing team, and I will go to war for my team, and I have gone to war with some of the legislators in this room, but we'll cover that on the last slide. Because that's why my office matters. That's my job, is to know. I know we'd like to stand up here and talk about how Utah is the best managed state, but unfortunately my job is to know where the problems are. And That is literally my job, to know where the skeletons are and who buried them. So if you're thinking about bidding on lunch, I'll go into more detail on the lunch with me. But for today, we'll keep it just on the positive notes. So, why do I do what I do? Well, I have a clicker. There we go. So I've been involved in Utah politics for about 20 years now. And the tagline on my email when I was in local government, I started with James Madison, because this is the reason why I stay involved. Because if angels were to govern men, no government would be necessary. The great difficulty lies in this. First, you must enable the government to control the governed. And the next place, oblige it to control itself. And there is where we the people come in. When our founders considered this is Federalist 51, they thought about it long and hard. And they knew some basic facts about government. They knew that power corrupts. And they knew that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And they spent a lot of time and a lot of discussion over how do you stop that kind of natural trend of government and power. And they decided on a brilliant thought: separate the powers. Separate them in equal, separate but equal, and put checks and balances into our government. And then they took it even farther, and they said, how do we get people to remember the concept? And Washington and Jefferson were very similar in this concept. And they decided that when they built the Capitol, that they would incorporate it into the architecture, because they knew if they did it in marble and stone, it would outlast them. And it would remind their posterity of the principles that they were trying to get them to remember. And so they based Washington, D.C. on the Greek and the Roman architecture to remind them of great republics throughout time. Those republican principles are part of the architecture for a reason. It was to remind us what we were trying to achieve in creating great republican ideals. Utah, we have been blessed with the same type of things. Here in Utah, our founders thought the same thing. When they designed the Utah State Capitol, they used that same structure. They chose the Greek and the Roman structure, the architecture of the building. Even the windows, the way they're placed, are to remind you that government is to be done in the sunlight. It is to be in the open and there for everyone to see, because they're doing government in your name. So we should be doing it in the open. And then Kettling did a brilliant thing in illustrating the separation of powers within the building, so that if you walk into the Utah Capitol, you will actually see not just one of the most beautiful buildings of state capitals across the nation, but you will see the separation of powers illustrated in the Utah Capitol. Even though the Supreme Court has not met in the Capitol, they still have their chambers within the Utah Capitol to remind us of that separation of powers, the separate but equal parts of government. So those of you who were part of, and most of them are in the room, thank you to the Eagle Forum. Thank you for Utah Citizens for the Constitution, who helped us with this very concept as it became more and more of a discussion during the legislative session. What does it mean to have separate but equal branches, to respect the separate authority of the other branches? And the discussion over the auditor's independence became very, very real to me, as it was directly under threat. And I want to use that as the illustration today for why independence mattered, why it matters that you have separate but equal branches of government. It's just like that, the compass. When we are focused on the very principles that were part of our founding, we stay focused on those very principles that keep us as a strong nation. But when we allow outside influence, whether that is money, whether that is power, to pull the compass off its course. A compass has to remain free from the magnet. When those magnetic powers, which whether they are power, whether they are money, whether they are global government, whatever that influence is that pulls those principles aside, you lose your true north. You lose your ability to remember why the principles are there in the first place. That independence is crucial for an auditor. For those of you who don't know, it is built into the standards that I am required to audit to. CPAs audit to governmental accounting standards when we audit for government, and you lose your CPA license if you do not audit to those governmental accounting standards. You lose your license. It is built into the structure of what we do every day. We live to that standard so that we can provide the assurance that is required by an auditor. Everything goes to that assurance that we are actually certifying reliability, honesty, and integrity in those financial statements. It is crucial. It is the key of what we do. That's what makes it a positive experience to go through an audit. People don't like to believe that. But an audit is a really positive experience, trust me on this one. Because it helps you remember how government is supposed to function. The most important part of what we do as auditors are the recommendations at the end of the audit, where we recommend the corrective action that needs to happen to bring the agency back into its true north, to really focus on what the agency is supposed to be doing instead of what it is. Those are the most important parts of what we do, and that assurance is what provides you, the taxpayer, that confidence that government is still operating in your behalf and for your good. Because what we should never forget, as we have oversight over taxpayer money, it's not government's money. It was never government's money, ever. It was always your money that they took from you. And they need to do only what they said they were going to do with it and nothing else. And that's why I would end it this way with my favorite quote of Abraham Lincoln. At the end of an audit, we have a line that we put in our reports every single time. We appreciate the professionalism of those who've worked with us, and we look forward to continuing that professional relationship. And that's true of those of you that I have disagreed with and those that I have had the pleasure of working with as you have helped us maintain that independence. If Norm Thurston's here, I don't know if I didn't see him, but I wanted to say that at a crucial moment in time, Norm went above and beyond. I should say Representative Thurston, sorry, Norm, I feel like we got to know each other pretty well. He listened, and he listened to why it mattered. I have to tell you, during the legislative session, it's rare because so many things are happening so quickly that people don't typically take the time to stop, to listen, and to try to understand what the concern is. And in a moment of real need, Representative Thurston did that. He stopped, he listened, he repeated it back to me, and then he fought for that. And he stayed with it during a difficult time. And I greatly appreciate those moments of real clarity and real cooperation for very important principles that hold us all together as a state and as a nation. So I'll end with that. Thank you. With malice towards none, with charity towards all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work that we are in. Thank you. Jason, I'm just going to leave this here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tina Cannon. Audits are positive. I think that was one of the quotes of the night. Audits are positive. I had to think about it, and I was like, yeah. All right, well, Caleb Peebley is going to introduce Jason Chaffetz. I want to show you Jason's book. I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of spicy. But it is called They're Coming For You. And it has how deep state spies, NGOs, and woke corporations plan to push you out of the economy. The first 5 chapters all about NGOs and how that works. That was a really good read, and I was very excited. I think it went right along with the theme and a little bit of the smorgasbord that we have pieced together. I hope you can follow the thread of the Be the People, and we are going to have Caleb introduce Jason Chaffetz.
I am excited to give this introduction. I'd never heard of Jason before. So when I was sitting there thinking about him, I have no idea what's on this paper. I'll read it in a second. I looked him up, and the first picture that came up was an Instagram post of him standing next to Kalani Sitake holding a football. So I won over. I think he's going to be a great speaker, but now I'll learn a little bit about him. Congressman Jason Chaffetz is currently a contributor on Fox News Networks, appearing regularly on Fox News and Fox Business channels, including frequent guest host appearances for Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Sunday Morning Futures, and Fox and Friends. He also hosts the Jason in the House podcast, distributed by Fox News Media. He was elected to the United States Congress in 2008 from the 3rd District of Utah and served until 2017. Chaffetz was selected by his peers to be chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee after only 3 terms. As chairman of that committee, he oversaw the 2nd largest committee in the House and spearheaded some of the nation's highest profile government investigations. Congressman Chaffetz also served on the House Judiciary, Budget, Natural Resources, and Homeland Security committees. In 2017, he joined Harvard University as a resident fellow at the Kennedy School Institute of Politics. In 2021, he joined the Government Accountability Institute as a distinguished fellow. At the Heritage Foundation, the congressman was a visiting fellow focused on the Oversight Project. With the new Oversight Project formed in 2025, he's now the chairman of the advisory board. And he also currently serves on the National Board of Advisories for the Freedom Festival based in Provo, Utah. Prior to his congressional service from 2003 to 2005, he was campaign manager and then chief of staff to Utah Governor Jon Huntsman. In 2006, Governor Huntsman appointed Chaffetz to serve on the Board of Trustees for Utah Valley State College, which then transitioned to Utah Valley University during his tenure. A former place kicker on the Brigham Young University football team, there's the Sitake picture, he set 5 new school records, earned his BA in communications in 1989, and then joined the local business community for 16 years. He and his wife Julie have been married since 1991 and have 3 married children and 6 grandchildren.
Oh, I love the candidness of saying I had no idea who this guy is, and so thank you. I appreciate the candidness and the honesty. And hey, we're at the halfway point, so I'm going to round the halfway point, and we'll bring you home for the second half of the program. I promise we're getting there. Okay, I won't go too long, but a few notes. Some other people here that I really, really like that are just some of my favorites. Marla Oaks is here, the state treasurer. Where's Marlo's here at the back. I saw him earlier. There he is. Kimberly also mentioned Data Republican. Data Republican is actually a Utahn, and she's actually here. She's right there. Jenica does amazing work. And Tina, I love what you do, and I love how you do it, and I love your passion and tenacity for oversight, which is dear to my heart. But maybe not as dear to my heart as my wife, Julie. I'm very fortunate to be here with Julie. We've been married 35 years. 35 years. Her parents were married more than 70 years before they unfortunately passed away, but we hit 35 years, and it's just so blessed. We have such great kids. They're all here in Utah. They're all married. We have 6 grandkids. We just baptized our oldest grandchild a couple of weeks ago. We asked this little girl what she wanted, what would Mama and Papa could do, and she said, oh, you want to go to St. George? So just the 3 of us went to St. George. It was one of the sweetest things that you could ever imagine. I'm very blessed with families, and you're probably very blessed in your family. I grew up with wonderful parents. My younger brother and I, parents who took care of us. I never worried about food. I never worried about where we were going to sleep. I didn't never worry if we were going to be safe. We just were. That's the way my young, idyllic childhood was. I also recognize that not every childhood is like that. That a lot of tough things happen. They happen in this community. They happen across the nation. They happen across the world. And they're tough. But I had parents who were so good to me, and they took care of us. And parents who at one point said, now, Jason, listen, if you ever need anything, if you ever want anything, please just tell us. Just come to us. Tell us if you want something, if you need something. Just come to us, because we're going to teach you how to live without it. And that set me on a path and a trial, and a trajectory that just said, you know what? I should be self-reliant. It actually became sort of the core of why I believe I'm a conservative, because it made a lot of sense to me. The older I've gotten, the more I've come to realize that in today's world of instant gratification, of social media, of the craziness that our little grandchild who's 3 years old knows how to steal her mom's phone, type in 4 numbers, and then hit the FaceTime button where it pops up on my phone so she can talk to me. At 3 years old. It's crazy how the world has changed along the way. Very blessed to have been able to serve in the United States Congress. That's getting to be further and further in the rearview mirror. I recognize that. But what a blessing, and I can't thank you enough for sending me and allowing me to be in Congress for those terms that I was there. I left. I left in the middle of my term. I had imbalance in my life. I was frustrated with our speaker, who informed me once the Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the presidency that no longer were we going to do oversight. What? President Trump was excited about it. His attorney general didn't like it, and we were going to be in for a fight to get the documents we wanted. But oh no. Speaker Paul Ryan and I had a few discussions. Paul said, I'm not supporting any more oversight. And I thought, you know what? Time to throw in the towel and change gears, because I miss and love my family. My home's in Utah. I could have stayed. My guess is I probably could have kept getting reelected. But you got to get to that point in your life where you find balance, because we're in a fight. We're in a fight, and it's good versus evil. When I first went to Congress, I really, honestly, and naively believed that Republicans, Democrats, we all believed in what the finish line should look like. We just had different ways of getting there. When I left Congress some 8.5 years later, I thought, no, that's not the case. There's a subversive group out there. There's people who don't love our country. They're evil, and it is good versus evil. And it is a fight. It's a fight that we have to fight here locally, on our state level, our national level, and certainly internationally. They want death and destruction to the United States of America. Now, if you don't like America and you want to take her over, how do you do that? Well, it's not going to be the Chinese or the Russians coming over the mountain with guns. I don't know, how many guns do we have in Utah County, right? That's probably not going to be a good strategy. What they're going to try to do is tear us apart from within. They're going to get us to fight each other, to divide us, to be deceptive in how they do things, and being able to tell you that you're wrong, you're evil, you're mean, you don't care, because you believe in basic principles that we as a people, certainly sitting in this room, and that we as a nation and as a state and as a community, as a city, as a county, that we hold dear to our heart. We love our families. We love the flag. We love the United States of America. We love freedom. We love liberty. We believe in justice. We believe in all of these things. But there's another part of the world that doesn't believe in those things. And I think one of the biggest challenges is, how do we deal with that? This is Lincoln Day One of my favorite Abraham Lincoln quotes is, "You don't make a weak man strong by making a strong man weak." Think about that for a second. You don't make a weak man strong by making a strong man weak. Abraham Lincoln was 100% right. But if you listen to today's Democratic Party, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to tear you down. They believe in equity. Oh, that sounds good, equity. They believe in equality. Equality Utah, right? We all want to be equal. Well, if we look at our founding documents and who we are as a people, we do have equality. We do have equity. We earn it. We believe in it. We fight for it. We all start out with the same opportunity to be able to accomplish what we want to be able to accomplish. We all have to overcome challenges. You know, I look at my own family. Again, I'm telling you about my idyllic household until I was just after 10 years old, turning the corner into my teenage years. And then life starts to come at you a little faster and a little bit more clear. In my own family, we had this time where my parents came to breakfast. Usually my breakfasts were just not eventful. My dad each morning would wiggle my toes. That was a sign for me to get up, get ready for school, and then me and my brother would come in and have some breakfast. Well, this one particular day, my parents came in and they said they were dressed up. My dad was wearing a tie. My dad never wore a tie, certainly at breakfast, and said, "We hate to tell you this, but we're going to get divorced." And as a young kid, I did not understand this. I was devastated. I had no idea. I hadn't seen it coming. My parents kept telling me that they loved me, that they cared for me, that it had nothing to do with me, but my young mind, my young perfect household was being shattered and broken apart, and I didn't understand it. It was hard. It was difficult. It was tough. Years later, my mom would sit me down and explain that she had breast cancer in her 30s. And I didn't know what that is. I just knew that cancer was bad. But I had no idea the journey that she would go on when she passed away that's younger than I am today. I still have those moments where sometimes something dramatic, good or bad, would happen in our life. And I think for just that, that fraction of a second, I need to call my mom. And yet she passed away in 1995. It's hard to believe. That's more than 30 years ago. So it is really, really difficult for me to, deal with that as a young man. Later, my dad would come and tell us that he had cancer. I only wish that they had the sort of diagnostics and treatment that we do today, because I think both of them would have been able to survive it much longer than they did. When I was parents got divorced. We were in Arizona. Dad moves up to Colorado, and we go with my dad. And we have this beautiful home outside Winter Park, Colorado. Okay, it's like living in Deer Valley, right? Got this beautiful view of the mountains, and it's just spectacular. Had my own room. I had my own bathroom. I had this perfect picture of these mountains and these Christmas trees, that lit up with snow. And then one day, my brother had the same. Then one day, my dad sat us down and said, "Sorry, kids, but I have to file for bankruptcy." I'm like, what? What does that mean? So we had to get out of that house, and we had to move into a one-bedroom apartment, which meant Alex and I slept on air mattresses in the front room. We'd blow them up, go to bed, got done in the morning, we'd let all the air out, fold them up. I had to take on a couple jobs. It was, I was getting to be in my late teens. I'm getting to be a senior in high school. And I'd take a good part of those checks and I'd give them to my dad, just so we had enough for rent and food and everything else. That is not what I had envisioned in my life. But it's interesting because I found that the most difficult parts of my life were also the parts that made me and my character. They made me stronger and better and more loving and more caring over the course of time. The reason I share that with you is that every single person in this room, you have your own story. My story is not unique. It may be unique in the combination of things, but every person in this room has that same story. It can be addiction, it can be bankruptcy, it could be financial problems, it can be a job problem, even a spousal issue. It could be kids doing stupid stuff. It could be an accident. Every one of us has these challenges. I think our opportunity as Republicans, as a people and as a country, is to show that compassion and share why we believe what we believe. That's who we are as Republicans. I'm tired of having the Democrats be the ones who claim the territory that say, we care more because we spend more. That is an absurd assertion. When you spend money as a government, you're pulling money from somebody's wallet and you're giving it to somebody else. That's the decision that people in these positions are making. And so somehow, some way, we as Republicans cower down and we're embarrassed sometimes and make apologies for being the actual compassionate ones. Our challenge is to point out to the Democrats how absurd and anti-family, anti-country their positions are. As Republicans, we need to do Republican things and not be bashful about it and explain why we believe what we believe at every level of government. We're in a fight to save and promote and support law enforcement in this country. Does it feel like we're winning that fight right now? We are, because we believe that if you come into this country illegally, it is illegal to be here illegally. I love the passion that Mike Lee is putting into the fight, okay? My personal viewpoint, you may disagree with this, folks, but I hate mail-in ballots. Everybody should vote same time, same place, same information, in person, with voter ID. Why do we have to apologize about this and stand down on this? This is, every single country on the face of the planet does this except us. Because, oh, it's going to exclude some people from, no, it's not. No, it's not. We got to support law enforcement. Democrats are trying to tear it apart. You have slick people like Gavin Newsom and Zohran Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders. This is who we're up against. We got to be able to kick their butts, like no problem, by making the argument to the American people on why we believe what we believe. Those are the types of things that we have to do. But I will tell you that the fight that we're in is going to be about how we do it neighborhood by neighborhood. Yeah, we're going to do stuff socially online. I make a living going out and, 4 or 5 segments at a time, making the case and putting out my tweets and Facebook posts and all that. It's all great, okay? Everybody do it. It's good. But it's going to be won in the neighborhoods, and even right here in Utah County. Utah County, for the first time, Democrats fielded a candidate in each of these legislative races. That's what Grant Pace was telling me here. Democrats never done that before. They're feeling a little emboldened, right? We can't let down our guard. Sometimes we get, I think, a little too fat, a little too happy, saying, oh, we're Republicans, we're in Utah. Yeah, Bill Clinton came in third, twice. But But we have a fight that we have to do, and we got to stand on principle, and we got to be able to share that principle, and we got to share that, because according to the Democrats, they want to tear that all down. Judges don't make decisions. It's supposed to be our state legislature. We're a representative government. And I appreciate the passion that Rob Axum and the others have poured into this. This fight is not over. There's a long, long ways to go on this. And it is absolutely accurate. It was said before multiple times. There are millions and millions and millions of dollars that are flowing in here through subversion, as Jenica pointed out, that are from outside forces trying to say, oh, these Mormon women. No, this is like 12 people who are propped up that aren't nearly it's a facade in what they're trying to do. They're trying to tear us down with our religion. They're trying to tear us down in the schools. They're trying to tear us down through social media. If you have a question about it, go talk to Joel Wright. He can tell you a whole lot about this and how they're trying to do it. I have waxed on a bit, but I want to highlight one more thing before I stand down, and I appreciate you having me here. And if you are serving our state, our community, certainly our cities, our county, our state, or in the federal government, and you are a first responder, a National Guardsman, or in the United States military, please stand for a moment. Got a good sheriff there. Thank you. Thank you for your service. These are the people who, when bad things are happening, answer the call. We have hundreds of thousands of men and women who serve right now, and they're overseas. They're away from their families. They are answering the call when 911 comes in. They're running to an accident or a shooting or domestic violence. Or they're having to deal with a domestic dispute. Certainly having to deal with people who are self-medicated. People are challenged with mental health issues, trying to do the right thing. And I will tell you as a sidebar, one of the biggest issues I think for the 2028 in our future as a party and as a people is how are we going to deal with artificial intelligence? What our younger generation, my grandkids, your grandkids, your kids are going to have to deal with, deep fakes, simulated voices that sound just like your family members, displacing you in jobs. This is a big challenge ahead of us. But for the moment, let us be the party, let us be the people, and certainly in this county, let us be the ones that support and love our law enforcement, our first responders, those nurses who have to take incoming, those paramedics that show up and have seconds to save lives, the sheriff and deputies who are responding at a moment's notice to who knows what, our National Guardsmen who work full-time jobs and go out on the weekend and they help us, and then natural disasters and other things happen. We are the party that cares for these people, and we got to support them every single possible way. We're in a funding fight. That's why none of our delegations here. It's not just the TSA. We've never had so much love and support for the TSA as we have right now, that's for sure. They're like on the emotional high of the TSA here for everybody loving what they're doing. But they do protect us. We also have the United States Secret Service, about 8,500 people having had it checked. We also have 40,000 members of the United States Coast Guard. We have what's called CISA, Cyber Infrastructure Personnel, haven't gotten paid. They got a lot of people out there, FEMA, whatnot. Whenever we see these people, I just hope we take the moment to thank them for serving their country, for serving our communities, and be proud of the fact when we are going into our 250th anniversary. Because you read Frederick Bastier's The Law, you start to realize really quickly, really illuminates the idea that there are certain things that have to happen in this country in order for us to maintain our freedoms of liberty and of justice and all of the things that we hold cherish and we cherish dear to our heart. I'm very blessed to be an American, very blessed to live in this state and in this community. I went out to the BYU spring football. I came here because I was invited to be a place kicker once upon a time. Today I went out with Lee Johnson and Chad Lewis and Ty Mattingly, and I got to see Kalane, and it was just really amazing how fun it was to be just part of this community and have a winning program that actually stands for something more than just winning games. People of good character. I've been droning on, but I just want to tell you, I'm a proud American. We're a proud party. And I want you to share from your heart why you believe what you believe and share that with everybody we come into contact with. Because we're in a fight for our lives. And a lot of subversion is coming at us, and we have to prevail. So may God bless you. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you. That was very kind of you. I hope I didn't get too long.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Jason Chaffetz. I will be quick. I have a couple of announcements. Because my team somehow does not like sleep, we have a Meet the Candidates tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning at Mountain View High School. We're very excited to have a lot of the candidates with us tonight. If you're a candidate, will you stand up? If you're a candidate in one of our current races, please stand up. So if you are a delegate, we will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at Mountain View in the cafeteria area. And then after that, at about noon, we will walk down to the auditorium for our County Commission Seat A debate. And so we will be there tomorrow. I want to tell you, if you have a piece of tape on one of the chairs, you can take the flowers home. If you don't, just rock, paper, scissors someone. I'm going to leave these up on the stage so that you don't drip on the way, and you can take those. And then I just wanted to leave you with this quote. I think we have been fed well tonight, and we have been fed well tonight. And it is by John Adams. It is, "Posterity, you will never know how much it costs the present generation to preserve your freedom. I hope you will make a good use of it. If you do not, I shall repent in heaven that I ever took half the pains to preserve it." We're in the middle of a story, and it's time to be the people.